Hi everyone, this is Lisa Haven, and I hope you guys are ready for a spectacular Christmas, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to each and every single one of you. Now I have an extra special guest. In fact, he is my father, RJ, and I thought, what a good time to bring him on, but, during the Christmas season. And he's got such a testimony, such a heart for the Lord. And what I want to do today is he's going to tell you a little bit about how God has saved his life repeatedly. We're going to get into some talk about fallen angels and Nephilim and the whole UFO quotes there, events that are happening across the globe, as well as his personal experiences with that, and how God has literally, I believe, and he believes, has saved his life specifically. One of the reasons he has saved his life, among many, obviously, but was for this message that we have for you today. So, Dad, go ahead and tell him just a little bit about yourself and how God saved your life.
Oh, yes, so many ways. Just like anyone, we always think we're doing good, but we really don't know God. But God is still there. He loves us so much. I can go in great detail, but that would take too long, so I'm going to keep it real short. When I just got married, no, I wasn't married yet, but I had 1,500 pounds of glass following me in the back of a semi. They had to get a forklift to pick it up and move me out, which is a great story, but I was okay. That's the basics. Years after that, I got a job glazing in Texas, and I was going to pick my family up. Matter of fact, my wife was having my daughter at home. It cost us $50. So, the day I was going to go pick her up, a piece of glass broke and cut my arm. So I got a long slice in my arm, and they said I was going to lose my arm. But as you can see, I have my arm and everything's fine, and that's another miracle. So my family came down. I ended up getting another job doing construction, glazing, and construction's on and off. So between working, I was trimming trees, and I was 3 stories up on a tree, and I blacked out and fell and landed my head on cement. My friend said, "It's the neatest thing I ever saw. You didn't flap, you didn't scream, you just dove head first." And he said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, I was looking down on this 3-story house thinking I'm high up here." So I did a protection. I got this, and this, and then I was okay. And then I blinked and the scenery changed. And all I could think of was looking down on that house, how this happened, and I'm going to die. So when I hit, I broke my left elbow, shattered my right wrist, and cut my head. But I was okay. I went to the hospital, and the doctor said, "It's amazing. The fall didn't kill me, or getting up didn't kill me."
Now tell him about the time that you fell at the house.
Okay. And then years later, I heard a noise at my back porch. I went outside and looked. It was about maybe 1.5 feet up. And I didn't see nothing. And that's the last thing I remember. I blacked out there and ended up totally paralyzed. I was dead from the neck down. They opened the back of my spine from C3 to C7, so my spine's open. And when I was in the hospital, they said, usually we never know what's going to happen, but in your case, your spine you're dead. We had to open it up to keep you alive. You're probably never going to move the rest of your life. Well, 6 months later, God healed me, and they don't even know how I'm moving. And they want to fuse me, but I don't want them to fuse me.
Because if they do that, you can't move, right?
Right, I'd be like a board, and I don't want to fall like a stick and break, So God has done wondrous things with me, and they still don't know how I'm still moving around. And then I came to visit my daughter several years ago, a few years ago, and I got a blood clot when I came down here. And I didn't know it. I just thought, because I'm weak because of my spinal injury, I thought, wow, I'm turning into a wuss. So, because I couldn't even make a snowman. So we stayed here 2 weeks, went back home, and my wife taught me to go in the hospital. And keep a long story short, they said, I probably got it coming home from Arizona. And I told the lady, no, I got it when I was in Arizona 2 weeks ago. She goes, wow, you should have been dead in Arizona. You should have been really dead coming back from Arizona. You should have been dead going to the hospital. So, and then they said I'll be on this blood thinning medicine, which I call rat poison, forever. And I was off in like 7 months. Right after the nurse said, no, I'm sorry, people really don't get off this, And again, So I know Satan has been after me for quite a while. And God has plans for all of our lives. Everybody's different. And I think the things I've known as a child, and I just would like to share some things because see, we need to have an open mind. God calls us to have an open mind because we see things with our eyes. I mean, something's red, yes, hard, yeah, is hot, yes. We understand these things. But God says our ways are not his ways. Our thoughts are in enmity with him. So we could have something figured out and say, yep, that's the way it is. And that's not the way it is. Because God has a better way, but we can't see because we're not stepping out in faith. I mean, that's just a little.
Yeah, and that's just a piece of what he's telling you, obviously, not to mention car accidents that you've gotten into and all kinds of crazy stuff. But it's definitely by God's divine hand that he's still alive, not including the numerous amount of miracles, that God has done in your life as well. So, and we didn't even get into some of those. Do you have any miracles that you want to share specifically other than the ones we've already mentioned?
Every day I wake up, it's a miracle.
I think that's for all of us. With the times we live in anyway, right?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, so no particular story you want to share?
As far as miracles? Not that I can think of right now.
Okay.
They're all too deep right now. But anyway, that's enough. You learn a lot about, just being alive for me is a miracle right now.
All right. So with that, I want to get into some of his stories with, my father. He's been my spiritual mentor for many years, my whole life, obviously. So he shared a lot of great information with me about the Lord and the Bible and end time events and the whole 9 yards on that. And most of you know, I also have a view on the fallen angels, the Nephilim, and who the UFO are that are in our skies. And my dad has a little bit that he wants to tell you specifically in regards to that, because when I was younger, he would tell me some of these things before they became more public like they are today. And so he didn't talk about it a lot with other people because of that reason, but now it's more public. But I do remember having conversations, in my early teens with my father about some of this. So can you share maybe who the gray aliens and the UFO are and what your take is on all that?
All right. Well, I have to kind of back up a little bit. There's a lot of detail I'd love to share, but it would take so long. And, maybe if you guys enjoy this and call in a lot, maybe I can come back. But at a young age, somehow I knew these things. I was always curious why all these people who were cavemen, supposedly, built pyramids and they did all this fancy work, beautiful work without torches because they had batteries. How could these so-called cavemen, as the world tries to teach us, do all these fascinating things that we can't do?
Like build the pyramids
and so on. And
technology. Some of the technology. They had electricity. There's things on the walls.
They found
a form of it.
Surgery and skulls, you name it. Little flying objects. So it was real mystery. So I was real curious. And how can these people who did all these things worship these so-called gods? And why would they do that? Why were there so many? So, I had all these things, but, I guess I really didn't know God, so I didn't have all the answers, just a curiosity. So the movie Chariots of the Gods came out, and I watched that. Of course, just like Satan, a little bit of truth with a little bit of lies, which is more confusing. But it piqued my interest even more. So as I started getting to know the Lord, but still not quite enough, I was led to a certain place that I'm not normally there. And a person came up to me, and I'm keeping this real short, and I thought he was really strange. He had some glasses, and it magnified, and he had the Bible and 3 other books, and he set him down, and I was selling magazines there, and he said $1.50, and I said yes. He put $1.50 down, and he knew my name, and I thought, how do you know my name? Is someone looking for me? He goes, yeah, I have been. And I thought, oh my God, a kook. I got me a kook. So he started talking to me, and he started talking about the stuff I was interested in. And he showed me this book, and I saw real pictures of all these spaceships, different ones, aliens, and he told me this story. It's a fascinating story, but I won't get into that. And then toward the end, he goes, well, I can't tell you too much right now because, they are after me, and I don't want them after you. He's, so what he's talking about. And he says, well, I've been looking for forever, and I still thought he was a kook. But still, a lot of stuff he said fascinating. There's things I saw fascinated me. And he said, it's not what you know now, it's what you grow into. And to me, I took it at literal. Like, well, I'm not that smart in school. I wish I was that smart, but that's not what he's talking about. It's like Jesus when he talked in parables. People didn't get it, you know. So when he went away, I had, later that day, 2 young guys come up to me. And they said, I saw you talking to this guy. And I said, yeah, he's kind of a nut. He goes, oh, yeah, he's from the crazy house, and don't listen to him. Don't pay no attention to him. He's got nothing to do with anything. And I thought, well, yeah, that's fine. But you know what? Some of the stuff he said was interesting. And then he started getting mad at me saying, don't pay no attention to him. Just do what I told you. And I was thinking, who are these guys?
Were they professionally dressed, those guys?
They were dressed in nice clothes, not suits or nothing, but they looked, decent. And they were young, And there was 2 of them. And they started threatening me, warning me. And I thought in my brain, why would somebody threaten me about a guy who's crazy, who, hey, he's a crazy guy. Oh, okay. I like the way he says interesting. Oh, okay. And walk away. Why would they threaten me? And I was young.
And this was before you knew the Lord that this happened.
Yeah, this is still before I knew the Lord. And so I got mad. I turned around to walk away from them. And we was in a place between the auditorium where there was no place to go. And I turned back around to give them a piece of my mind. And they were gone. And that kind of scared me. And the next day I saw this guy and I mentioned to him, he goes, oh, I already told you too much. I can't tell you no more. And he left. I never saw him again. But anyway, so I was into that, and I ended up going to a place called Unity because, I was searching. And with Satan and lies, of course, I knew my Sunday school teacher was a white witch. I knew that wasn't right. I heard the preacher talking about the alien coming down, giving Moses the commandments. I knew that wasn't right. It was just too easy, too fleshly. And so
it's sad that a place like that even exists,
I know, but
call itself a church.
People are easily misled. I mean,
there's an end time deception coming, that's for sure.
Yes, and see, that's why I'm here, because we all believe what we believe. If you go back in time.
Well, keep telling us, get to the who they are, so we can stay on.
Okay, but let me say this real quick. If you go back in time and someone came to your neighborhood and your kid got sick, you broke your legs, your crop failed. Well, that's superstition. That person was a witch. Either you killed them or you ran them out of town. But we still have superstition. And now we have technology, so we can say, oh, we can get rid of the Bible. They beamed us to the wall. They walked, and the angels did that. We can use our brain to figure out anything. But anyway, back to the thing. So I was searching for the truth, and all of a sudden I started seeing UFOs more than ever, and it was crazy. Things started happening that was unusual. And so I really started seeking. And then I started finding out when I started getting into the Word, God, and gave my life to Christ, everything changed. I saw, yes, the sons of God came down. Yes, they kept not their first estate. Yes, they had children. And God told Noah, man's days will be 120. And I thought, why would he tell Noah 120 when he lived to be almost 1,000? And that's because what he was saying is the Nephilims lived pretty much forever. And that the world, he was mad because it was evil, so evil, because the world was filled with Nephilim. So God flooded the earth. And so when I started thinking, I found out, yes, this world is a battle over who has it. Satan wants it for his children, and God made it for his children. But see, you still got to back up to know the truth. Some people believe that, the fallen angels, some were abound, of course. But they had flesh, and I believe I know I'm starting to ramble because I'm trying to say too much in too many different areas. So I'll try to focus it. Okay, so God wanted to flood the earth, but Noah and his children, his genealogy, his genes were pure. They weren't intermingled like everything in the world. So God flooded the earth. Now, some of these Nephilims,
no, let me clarify. Noah's genealogy was pure. It means it wasn't mingled with Nephilim blood or Nephilim DNA.
Correct.
Yeah,
okay.
and so him and his family were not messed up like the rest of the world. Ergo, the reason God put him on the earth.
Right. Now, you got to remember, these guys knew. I mean, they always wonder, how did these people know about space? How do these people know about plants? How do they know all this stuff? Because they came from fallen angels.
The Nephilim that were on the earth
Correct.
during the time of Noah,
right?
That God wipes out.
And they had technology, so some could have had a base on the moon, regardless. It don't matter. But they weren't here. So when the flood came, the ones that weren't here lived. The ones that were here died.
Okay, so explain that. So in other words, you mean like during the flood, and this is a theory, obviously.
Yeah,
but
it's all theories.
This piece, but So during Noah's flood, Noah obviously and his family were saved on the ark, and God flooded the earth. And in the scriptures, it says that those on the earth were all killed off. Any Nephilim, any being that was on the earth, got killed off. Now, one theory is maybe there was another resurgence after the flood, because we know that in the battle of Jericho, there were giants in the land, and after, it says there were Nephilim on the land before and after the ark. That's what the Bible says. Now, another theory, which is one my dad believes, is that maybe we know that they can have spacecraft. We know that in ancient times there's spacecrafts drawn on the walls. So these images can be seen in ancient artifacts and the whole 9 yards. So he believes it's likely that maybe the Nephilim went up into the spaceships during the flood, and that's how maybe they were back on the earth, which just another idea. And I think it holds a lot of merit. So from that point, now we have Nephilim back on the land.
Correct.
So go from there. Or who do you think the UFOs, which today, we know an end time deception is going to come. We'll get into that in just a moment. But the UFOs themselves, the gray aliens, the tall whites, all those are Nephilim. Obviously, they're not here to save the world.
Right.
So who do you then believe they are? Are they fallen angels? Are they demons? Are they Nephilim?
Okay. Now, first of all, you can remember, God says in the last days, look to the day of Noah, for thus it will be. And how was Noah's day? Not just evil, it was full of Nephilims.
Yeah.
So where do these Nephilims come from if the world was all flooded and they all died? A theory of UFOs. But I'm not getting into proving theories or not. But the main thing I really want to prove is who you're going to believe, okay? So what was your question again? I'm sorry.
Who are the aliens? But let's say this. Let's say this too, a Nephilim, for those of you who don't know, because I know there's new people to the channel as well, that is when the Bible tells us a Nephilim is when a fallen angel, those who rebelled against God, those who turn their back on God, has sex with a woman.
Not their first estate.
Kept not their first estate. And the product of a fallen angel and a human being is a Nephilim. And back in the day, they were giants.
Right.
And they're not now,
right.
which we'll get into that. Go ahead.
Just like us, we're deteriorating over time, or we're breaking up. But what people don't think about, you ask them, where do you think sin originated? In the garden? No. Sin originated in heaven. There's no drive-by shootings in heaven, no pornography, but yet Satan and 1/3 of the angels rebelled. So how'd this happen? How'd sin originate in a perfect place? So this is a battle over who's who, but God already told the end from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And you got to remember too, in the garden, it was about who do you believe, God or Satan? Well, we chose Satan, and that's why he has control over everything. But when Jesus came back to this earth, he took his authority. Satan still has power. So that's why we're so easy to deceive. That's why people have so many, they battle with, no, it's this way, no, it's this way. That don't matter. That matters, who do you believe?
So who are they?
The Nephilims, I believe this,
The UFO, people, the world calls aliens. Right. We know better.
The angels that kept not their first estate are bound. Their children are still here, and they live a long time. Okay?
Bound in hell.
Right. Now, their children are still going. Now, think about it. If you're born, you're going to have a hatred for God anyway. But now when you die, you know you're going to hell. You see, when God cast Satan and his angels to earth, they're not in hell. They're running around here messing with us. When the Nephilims got flooded and died, they're in hell. And they
become demons, I believe.
Right, and they're demons.
When they die.
Correct.
When a Nephilim dies, it becomes a demon.
Right.
That's from the book of Enoch, which is not historical. It's just a history.
Messing with you until your judgment stand before God, because they hate you with a passion. But Satan is demon is still here. It was cast into the pigs, but they're here. Okay, so the Nephilims are here, and they're fallen angels still. They're evil. They're Satan's children. They're against you. Put it this way: if they were aliens from different planets, one, they could have thrown a rock at the earth and wiped us out and take the whole planet, but they didn't do that. Two, they could have helped us, and lead us into beautifulness. They didn't do that. Three, they could put a little virus down here and wipe us out. They didn't do that. Four, they could have came down here and controlled us and would have been slaves then. But why did none of that happen? Because they're not aliens. God has the final authority what can happen and what can't happen. But the more we fall away from God, the more authority we give them. We give them the authority to deceive us. If you notice, in some Missoulis,
L.A.
things.
Marzulli.
L.A. Marzulli's, a guy can call, pray, and poof, there's a ship there. But it's not a physical ship, it's a spiritual ship. And then you got your physical kind. Because when you say something, it's like, I remember praying, well, I'm not going to go into the story, and I thank God because something bad was fixing to happen, what happened, and I said, thank you, God, for giving me the strength. But when I was praying, I said, well, this is my weakness. Thank goodness she wasn't beautiful. A week later, a beautiful woman came. Everything it's like saying, oh, is that all you needed? Because they hear. So Satan does what he can. It's all about deception. So these aliens being gray, black, it's all about genetics. Anytime someone gets picked up, it's always their eggs or semen. It's always genetics. They're trying to make it more prettier looking, like
More human looking.
Hitler called them the Aryan race, blonde hair, blue eyes. So, I mean, think about the deception. Like I said before about superstition. A spaceship comes down, beautiful people come out and say, oh yeah, we was here. Well, how come you didn't help us a long time ago? Now, they're going to use the same lie that Satan did. Oh, you turn into eat this, you'd be like God. Well, we could have made an ape and made you out of an ape, and you wasn't mature enough. But now you evolved. You're more like God now. That's why we're here. We're here to usher you in. Oh, cool. Now I can get rid of the Bible and just say, well, I could buy off. I could just walk right into this. Oh, here's Jesus right here. He really didn't die on the cross like the Muslims believe. I'm not saying these things are going to be said, but you could take deception anywhere. All you got to do is what's God say. God says there's going to be a great deception in the last days. Even the elite, people who think they know what they're thinking, might fall for it, which is pretty serious.
Even believers.
Right, especially believers. Because people don't want to talk about stuff that short circuits their brain because they want to put God in the box. God don't like to be in a box. I mean, he spit on some dirt and healed the guy's eyes. He spoke healing. He did this. And it's always different ways so you don't think, well, I got spit and mud and put in your eye. You ain't doing that to me. There's no set rule. It's all about belief. And Satan's going to come and take away that belief. And as far as mermaids and Bigfoot and all these things.
If they exist.
If anything exists, they could be genetically stuff that's not quite right, that messed up. Because what are we trying to do with our science?
Yeah.
We're trying to make superhuman beings.
We are.
One, if you lose your arm, it grows back. One that's super strong like a monkey. And we're creating all these new diseases and mess. That's the same thing the aliens doing. I believe since we're getting rid of God, we're allowing these guys to be in power, and certain people who have the power know about this and been places, and they've been promised things.
Before you get into that, let's just clarify. So you believe, first of all, the alien UFO are Nephilim?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, and then you believe that if things like the mermaids and Bigfoots and lizard whatever, if they exist, they're either man-made DNA things, because man is mixing mouse. You can Google on the internet and find mice with human ears. You can, with night vision, glow in the dark pigs and animals and the whole 9 yards. Or they are genetically modified. The Nephilim or even the fallen angels are messing with DNA and mixing these things together. My father pointed something out to me the other day in the book of Yasher, I believe, not biblical text. It doesn't have the same grounds as the Bible, but I use it for history. Same with the book of Enoch, great history information. And it says that the fallen angels and the Nephilim had sexual relations with things like the beasts of the field, lizards, and fish. And he said, well, how can, say a fallen angel or a Nephilim have sexual relations with something like a fish? Well, the answer is quite simply through DNA modification. If it wasn't a sexual modification, it was some kind of DNA mixing of sorts. So, which would be, an explanation through Yasher, the book of Yasher, but lots of interesting things there. Now we know also you've been talking about an end time deception, that even the elect will be deceived. And me and you and many of you guys know as well that in the latter days that we are going to be looking at some pretty serious end time events, at the end time lie. And it's possible that this end time lie could come from something like the UFOs. Now, there's many ways that could happen. It could play out in the latter days. This is one idea of that. Okay, so keep that in mind. But if in the latter days we have, say, here we are, tribulation period, So how do you foresee all of that playing out during the tribulation, specifically in regards to, the fallen angels and the UFO and Satan and his demonic force?
Well, this whole thing is like the Bible says, is a battle over our minds and our thoughts, what we believe, what we perceive. We're kind of like living in what I call it the Matrix. Not real Matrix, but when you die and wake up, you find out that this life was nothing, because now eternity is a long time. So Satan plays on this. So he can use it to pull you this way or that way. It's just like when I met that guy and got into UFOs. I could have gone real far all into UFOs, all into knowledge, and dumped the Bible thinking I had it all figured out. We got Republicans, Democrats, you name it. Everybody's got their own way of thinking. And sometimes we say, this is the way it is, that's just the way it is. But God says, no. When God took the apostles to the other side of the boat, on the other side of the lake, in that lake or ocean or whatever, and the storm came, he was sleeping. They saw the lightning, they saw the thunder, they saw the waves, we're going to die. And they got mad at Jesus and said, hey, you just going to lay there and sleep while we die? But see, and he got up and rebuked the wind and the waves, because he knew something they didn't know, that God was with them and they ain't going to die. But we go by what we see, feel, and touch and smell. So Satan uses these things, be it a UFO come down, tell you a sweet lie, and prove it with history. And you say, oh, you get people nowadays that says, I was born a long time ago, because they got a spirit that knew that guy, and you're hearing it, and you're thinking, wow, I'm pre-incarnated. I can get rid of the Bible. Reincarnated.
Which is a lie, too.
Right, and I can get rid of the Bible. But it's a spirit, a familiar spirit that's been there, know that, because they've been here forever. And so we're so easily deceived. We need to choose in our hearts, and this is what I really want to get across. Who do we believe? God told Adam and Eve, you're going to believe me? I give you all this, but not that one thing. Satan said, hey, what? God's holding on to you. If you eat that, you become like God. So UFO come down here, give the same lie. Oh, you're maturing now. You finally evolved. Here comes evolution. And now you're turning more like God. See, you're evolved now. Now I'm here to help usher you into godhood. Another lie. We're not God. Or I don't even want to be. But the truth is, what are we going to believe? Well, we're going to believe what God says by stepping out in faith. And he even says this life's a vapor of smoke. Boy, is it ever. It's here and it's gone. We know, all of us know, we call ourselves atheists or whatever, but deep down inside we know that there's something to this life. Everything's too perfect. Satan does not want us to believe God. He does not want us to be healed. He wants us to think, well, maybe that's not for us. He wants us to always think these things. And if you have a rich relative that's really rich and you butter up to him, you do it because you want his money. God don't want no one like that. Satan said, look at Job. He's buttering up to you because you give him everything. But that wasn't it. Even if you suffer, God's trying to teach you something. And he's not making you suffer. We lead ourselves so well in that category. But the main thing I want to get across is you need to have an open mind. You need to really find out what God is. You need to have that personal relationship with Jesus, because these days aren't like the days of Noah. The Nephilims are here. The lies are here.
Fallen angels.
Yes,
demons.
And they're fallen angels. And you got to remember that the fallen angels are here too. We just can't see them. I don't want to see them.
Well, they can take human form.
Yeah, they can take human form, and even our angels.
Regular angels. Yep,
I know I've been entertained by an angel before, because when anyway, I'm not going there now. But that's what I want to tell you. There's so much I'd love to share.
So you kind of touched it a little bit, but so you think the end time deception could be that they're going to call themselves aliens, UFOs, come down to this earth and do what exactly?
Well, it's like God says, Satan comes.
No, what are they going to do when they get here?
They're going to try to help us out, pretty much, supposedly.
In a false deceptive
In a false
lie.
deception, because they have an agenda. They want to be worshipped. Remember when Jesus was tempted? The three things, two of them was, if you are God, if you are God. And the other one was, well, worship me and I give you all these kingdoms. Well, they're trying to say, well, if you're really saved, why you live like this? Well, that's why he sent Jesus, because it's a hard life to live without Jesus. When we surrender, we can. And then, worship me. He's going to want to be worshipped.
So like the Bible says, everybody's going to bow down and worship the idol that the false prophet brings in.
Right.
So you believe it's likely that, the Antichrist, is he going to have anything to do with the Nephilim? Is he going to be But what is your take on that? Who is the Antichrist? Not a name, obviously.
Right.
We don't know who that is, but
Right.
is he going to be in league with him? And as far as false prophet?
Oh yes, he's the daddy. Satan is the father. Like God says, he's the father of all lies. And if you listen to him and believe him, he's your dad. And everybody else is just his helper. They're helping to lead you to believe him. So when he comes with all his super technology, what they're coming, his children are, and to get you to disbelieve the Bible because everything the angels did, they can do, through technology. And you say, oh, that's what the answer is. It's these guys.
Okay.
And then when Satan sets up, then they say, this is the guy. This is the real
So
thing.
they're going to paint the UFOs, which we know as fallen angels, Nephilim, and the whole 9 yards. They're going to deceive the world into believing the Antichrist is God.
Correct.
Bow down and serve God.
Correct.
Through the false idol, which we know
Right.
also happens in the latter days. And it could be likely that all the UFO hustle and bustle, or buzz, I should say, that's going on. We know we have movies like Ancient Aliens and all kinds of movies that beg the question, maybe the aliens planted a seed here and sparked evolution. I mean, could that be part of the lie? Yeah, no, that they.
Oh yeah, it's all a part of life. Evolution. They made you from an ape. It's all.
But
them.
I mean, the fact that
Whatever.
they spark it with an alien,
Whatever.
the
Yes.
alien. So
Yes.
that would therefore make aliens our mummies and daddies. Obviously not.
Correct.
That would be God. But that would be a deception so big that many of the elite would even be led astray, because the Bible also tells us that the Antichrist and the false prophet will be doing what?
Deception,
Signs
and wonders and miracles. You
Signs,
get
wonders, and
healed,
miracles.
and this is a good guy. He healed me. I had cancer. I was dying. My son was dying. I'm healed. I'm listening to this guy. I'm following this.
Right.
And I'm going to fall into the hole. And I don't want to blind leading the blind. And you can see everything, even on cartoons. The aliens are good aliens. The children got the good aliens. Why? It's these seeds. It goes back to what I said. What God wants you to believe the truth. Satan wants you to believe a lie. It's about what we believe, what we perceive. And that's why God says faith is the substance of things hoped for, not seen. And Satan works in the seen realm.
Because he's the father of this world right now.
Yeah,
For a temporary.
deception.
For a
But
short
God took his authority away
Yeah,
and gave it to us. But we could say, here, pull our chain and we could follow.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of gives you guys an idea of just a piece of the insight that we've gathered. But I thought, Christmas season's up. What a great time to bring my dad on and encourage you guys. And for those of you who don't know the Lord, now is the time to get right with him, because like my father said, we're only going to be here but a vapor, a short amount of time. And if the whole demons, and I know demons are real. I've seen them in my
Yes,
lifetime.
yes.
I've seen them delivered from people. You've seen them delivered from people. We know that there is a spiritual realm out there. There's God and his angels working, and there's Satan and his demonic force at work as well. For those of you who haven't heard anything about UFOs, Nephilim, maybe some of you don't believe that. I guess ultimately we're going to see it all play out in the end times either way, be it that's the way. But there's definitely, we all know there is something working from behind the scenes. We know the upper ranks of the Illuminati, they work with people such as the fallen angels and the Nephilims themselves. So lots of information and lots of things have been leaked from governmental agents who have worked, not to mention events at Roswell and other areas as well. The government's just getting better about hiding it, in my opinion, which I believe one day they're going to let the cat out of the bag.
Yes, because they don't want you to know what they really are, because they know what they are. They're demonic, they're demons. They want you to believe that they're aliens.
And the reason it's increased is, I personally believe, in the book of Enoch, it talks about that the fallen angels were bound, I think, for 70 generations. And that would put us in the early 1900s. And here we are, those original who took not their first abode and were having sex with the humans are back on play. So just another thing to think about. But anyhow, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys had a great Christmas.
Yeah, and I hope you have a good New Year's, and I hope you enjoy this CD, and maybe call me back again.
Well, this is Lisa Haven signing off.